The film begins by showing a man named Godlock chasing two cars belonging to gang members engaged in a shootout. After an intense exchange of gunfire, one of the cars crashes and flips over. Meanwhile, Godlock tries to attack the remaining car using a crowbar. His reasons for doing so are unclear, but as a result he becomes the target of the gangsters' retaliation. Once captured, Godlock is executed on the spot with 2 gunshots. However, he is immediately rushed to the hospital, where doctors discover that one of the bullets is lodged in his throat. A miracle happens. His life is saved. After spending several days in a coma, Godlock finally regains consciousness. His wife Saya stays by his side throughout his recovery. Before long, his body starts to heal. However, one part remains irreparable. His throat injury is too severe, forcing him to rely on a voice aid to speak. A few months later, the doctors allow Godlock to return home. During the drive back, he and his wife barely speak, instead observing their surroundings. They witness how their neighborhood is overrun by gang members. Even in broad daylight, teenage kids openly engage in drug deals. Upon arriving home, their sorrow deepens. The day Godlock was shot was the same day their son was killed. The story then takes us to a flashback of that tragic event. That morning, their small family was happily playing in their front yard when sudden gunfire erupted. Gang members were shooting at each other while driving. Godlock and his wife managed to survive, but their son was struck by a stray bullet from the gang war. Now the reason behind Godlock's reckless pursuit of the gangsters becomes clear. As he steps into the house, his eyes fall on the Christmas tree and the neatly wrapped presents meant for his son. A mix of rage and grief consumes him, pulling him further into the depths of despair. After days of drowning his sorrow in alcohol, Godlock finally realizes that he must avenge his son. With unwavering determination, he begins planning his revenge. His first step is to visit the police station handling his son's murder case. Upon arrival, he is left waiting in the office of a detective named Dennis. Coincidentally, on the wall, he notices photos of the suspects believed to be involved in his son's killing. Among them is a tattooed man, the same one who shot him. Realizing that the police would be incapable of capturing the gangsters he was after, Godlock ultimately decided to take matters into his own hands. He chose December 24th, exactly 1 year after his son's death, as the day of his revenge. That meant he still had more than 6 months to prepare everything. Godlock began gathering information about his targets. At the same time, he understood that taking down gangsters wouldn't be easy. He needed stamina and various skills, including knife combat, physical strength, and expert marksmanship. He taught himself everything. It wasn't easy at first, but with unwavering determination, Godlock trained relentlessly, day and night. He became so focused on his training that he neglected his relationship with his wife. Saya, his wife, began to wonder why he was spending nearly all his time in the garage. Sometime later, Godlock purchased a used Mustang. It wasn't for style. It was part of his preparation. He started modifying the car to suit his needs, reinforcing it with steel bumpers and bulletproof plating on all sides. Not stopping there, he also armed himself. He purchased several firearms and prepared them for his mission. As months passed, Saya seemed to have reached her limit. Unable to tolerate her husband's behavior any longer, she decided to leave. Godlock didn't blame her. He knew that no one could truly understand the depth of his hatred for the gangsters who had taken his son's life. After successfully modifying his car, Godlock also trained extensively in high-performance driving. A little hint, you won't believe just how crucial these driving skills will become later. A few months later, precisely 2 months before his mission, Godlock began routinely monitoring the gangsters' hideout using a long-range camera. From his observations, he discovered that they were using an abandoned apartment as their main headquarters. Meanwhile, we see the progress of Godlock's training. His physique has become perfectly toned, his shooting accuracy has improved dramatically, and he has trained both hands to shoot with equal precision. His driving skills are no joke. He has become an incredibly skilled driver. Finally, December arrives. One afternoon, after finishing his shopping, Godlock unexpectedly crosses paths with the gangsters he has been targeting. Even his main target is there, busy handing out money. At that moment, Godlock was already itching to kill him with a knife. However, he noticed that the gang leader was surrounded by children. Instead of taking immediate revenge, Godlock was suddenly knocked down after being hit by the leader's bodyguard. He was even humiliated and had ice cream dumped on him. Still, Godlock held back his emotions. He had already set his own execution date. The day before the attack, Godlock took his first step. He sneaked into the home of an accountant who worked for the gangsters. His plan went smoothly. With a single blow, he knocked the accountant unconscious. Godlock then took him home for interrogation. He had prepared a sheet of paper filled with questions that the accountant had to answer. However, this was where Godlock made a mistake. He carelessly placed his knife within reach, allowing his captive to break free. A brutal fight broke out between them. But from this battle, it became clear Godlock's months of rigorous training had paid off. The next day, Godlock prepared himself. He put on a bulletproof vest, armed himself with various weapons and explosives, and wrote a final farewell letter to his beloved wife, in case he didn't make it back alive. Before carrying out his mission, Godlock visited his son's grave. There, he unwrapped the Christmas gift his son was supposed to receive last year. As a final step before attacking the gangsters' hideout, Godlock handed over the captured accountant to Detective Dennis, the officer in charge of his son's case. He also left a letter stating that the case could have been solved if the police had taken it seriously. As proof, he included a flash drive containing the results of his investigation and the interrogation from the night before. Wasting no more time, Godlock launched his mission. His first target was one of the gang leader's subordinates, whom we will now call Webface. By hacking into the police radio, he quickly tracked his target's location. Once he found him, Godlock stabbed him in the middle of the street. Though Webface's man tried to fight back, he eventually fell. As a warning to Webface, Godlock severed a few of the victim's fingers and threw them at the gang's hideout, making it clear that Webface would be next. That night, a gang war erupted. Amid the chaos, a police officer was killed on the spot, while another was trapped in the middle of the firefight. As planned, Godlock began slaughtering every gangster in the area. Driving his modified car as a shield, he opened fire on them immediately. In the middle of the battle, one of the gang members managed to record his actions and sent the video to Webface. However, Godlock, realizing he was being watched, quickly seized the enemy's phone and sent the massacre footage directly to Webface, sending the gang leader into a panic. In his desperation, Webface immediately ordered his right-hand man, Ruiz, to eliminate Godlock that very night. Meanwhile, Godlock took a brief pause to collect himself. He sat inside his car listening to a tune from his late son's toy, trying to calm his rage before continuing his mission. But just as he was ready to move again, several gangster-owned cars and motorcycles suddenly appeared from all directions and rammed into him. Despite this, Godlock had prepared for situations like this. Even while surrounded, he managed to take down the gangsters one by one. Eventually, he trapped Ruiz's car, causing a devastating crash. Elsewhere, we see Detective Dennis lost in thought, reflecting on the message Godlock left him. Now he finally had all the information about the suspects he had been searching for. Without hesitation, Dennis decided to head to Godlock's location. Meanwhile, Webface ordered all his men to return to their headquarters. With so many guards stationed there, he was convinced that Godlock wouldn't be able to kill him. Feeling safe, Webface chose to spend the night indulging in drugs with his girlfriend. On the other side, Godlock's car was severely damaged from the earlier attack, forcing him to stop and reassess his next move. Suddenly, a message notification popped up on the gangster's phone he had taken earlier. The message revealed that Webface's men would arrive at the hideout in 5 minutes. Realizing this was his golden opportunity, Godlock immediately headed there using a motorcycle he had stolen from a gangster he had just killed. Upon arrival, he launched into a brutal assault. After clearing out the lower floors, he started climbing the stairs toward the top floor, where Webface and his girlfriend were lounging. On every floor, gangsters kept appearing, but Godlock calmly took them all down with his shotgun. When he finally reached the top floor, he took several hits, but his bulletproof vest saved him. To prepare for any reinforcements, Godlock started planting makeshift bombs, just in case more gangsters arrived. As he searched for the room where Webface was hiding, Ruiz suddenly appeared and attacked him. It turned out that Ruiz had survived the earlier crash and was now out for revenge. As Webface's right-hand man, Ruiz was a formidable fighter. Even after being shot twice, he still managed to put up a fierce fight. Meanwhile, more gangsters tried to reach the top floor, but Godlock's traps worked perfectly, killing them instantly. Moments later, Detective Dennis arrived at the scene and managed to take down some of the remaining enemies. But before they could catch their breath, Webface's girlfriend suddenly ambushed them with a barrage of gunfire. Dennis was wounded, while Godlock scrambled to find an alternate route to take her down. When she was finally in his crosshairs, Godlock hesitated. He wondered if she was only acting out of fear, forced into this situation by Webface. But that hesitation turned out to be a fatal mistake. The moment she had a chance, she shot Godlock. Losing blood fast, Godlock collapsed as Webface emerged completely unharmed and unleashed a hail of bullets on him. Just as Godlock was on the brink of death, Detective Dennis reappeared and shot Webface from behind. With the last of his strength, Godlock finished Webface off, killing him on the spot. As he lay dying, Godlock's mind drifted to the beautiful memories he shared with his son. His revenge was complete. Though he had to die, he could finally rest in peace. The film then cuts to Godlock's wife reading the final letter he had left behind. In it, he wrote his apologies and farewells. Without realizing it, she had lost both her husband and son on the same date. And with that, the film comes to an end.